You listen to The Social here on talkSPORT 2 with myself, Flex, and Dan Bardell, taking you through to 5 p.m. It's time now. My favourite part of the show. I've been waiting for this all day. I've been waiting for it for 2 days. 2 days to talk Arsenal with talkSPORT's Luke Henry. He's joining us inside the studio in person, not down the line. He's come to face up to his team's crisis in person, face-to-face. Luke.
Get the impression you might be enjoying this a little bit.
Mate, it's been so miserable for me, and it probably will continue to be in some other different ways. So you've got to take these little wins. But Luke, honestly, first of all, thanks for coming in.
No worries.
Thanks for stepping up to the plate.
No, fair.
Arsenal, how are you feeling now? Is it crisis that Man United have knocked you out? Does that put you into crisis?
Well, crisis is a word that I've heard before. If you think crisis is a team that's second in the Premier League and doing quite well in the Champions League, no. I'm just saying. But I saw you on Sunday, before, didn't I? And I said to you, if the game is as it was in the first 30 minutes and it's 0-0, Manchester United will go in confidence and, they might fancy their chances. And I was kind of correct. 49 shots in the last 2 games, 1 goal. We can talk about it. But I was on here yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's funny how football can change within 24 hours. I came in here yesterday and I said, I don't want to see this group of players and be the team that is like a nearly team again. I've seen that with other teams in the last decade of, watching Arsenal and had good teams come along the way. And then you see this afternoon that they are going to buy Martin Zubimendi in the summer, which is an interesting move. There's lots of subplots into that. What does that mean for Declan Rice's position? Their sporting director's been linked with a move for us as well in the summer. So it's interesting, but it doesn't really answer the questions of what we need right now, which is obviously an attacker. So the funny thing is, if you take context out of it, so I think I've read a lot and I think I've seen a lot.
Take context out?
No, hear me out. If you sometimes you read too much and you see too much and you become too invested. Sometimes you need to take yourself out of it.
Yeah.
So forget Arsenal fighting for the title or whatever.
Yeah.
Arsenal have 4 attackers. So no matter where you would be, and no matter what situation, a club would always go in the January transfer window because they need bodies.
Yeah.
Now you had to add the context in because Arsenal are going for a Premier League and want to go deep into the Champions League. So they can't just go and buy anybody.
And they've got bad injuries.
So they can't just go and buy anybody because they need sufficient quality that's going to improve the team.
Correct.
So that's the difficult part. January is always notoriously hard to buy the right player. So I agree with that to an extent. However, the frustration from Arsenal fans, and I'm trying to look at both sides here, the frustration from Arsenal fans is it feels like it's the same sort of question and the same sort of answer all the time. It's Arsenal monitoring, Arsenal are looking, Arsenal are this, Arsenal are that. But if Arsenal were proactive in the summer, we wouldn't be in this position in January, where now I think we're at a position where we needed 2. And some Arsenal fans thought before we even sold anyone, before we even sold a Reece Nelson, on top of what we already had, we needed attacking reinforcements. So that's where the frustration lies. Now, it's very clever for the club to come out and all but announce this Zubimendi deal. Obviously, it needs to actually go over the line in the summer. But it's a good ahead of the North London derby tomorrow. It's good PR and it makes the fans...
It's not going to wash that, though,
it's
is it
not,
now?
Because
it's not going to wash.
But the interesting thing from this is this, and I've read this, and I don't know if it's true, but if it is, it's quite interesting. Apparently, Arteta wanted to sign Zubimendi this January transfer window, and Sociedad said no. They want him to stay the season out. So, if Arteta wanted him this January, that means they wanted to trigger the release clause, which means there is £51 million ready to be spent. So now,
and he chose not to get a striker again. Then.
But the good thing is, yes, I get that point. But the good thing is that there is money to spend. So therefore, there has to be maybe 2 attacking reinforcements coming into the January window. Now the question is, they don't want to compromise their summer spending, but I think that has to change given the context we are in now. And I was on the show yesterday and I asked Ollie and Rory the same question, and I'll pose it to you guys. We're obviously not going to get Alexander Isak in this January transfer window, but do you think Arsenal are one quality attacking addition away from winning the Premier League and going far into the Champions League? I'll ask you the same question.
Before injuries, I'd have said I think they would have enough. Now, with Jesus being out for the season, they definitely need someone. Factor in Saka as well. I think it's interesting you say about you getting a striker in the summer. Obviously, a lot of strikers moved in the summer. Is there anyone who you think they should have gone for that ended up moving or didn't quite move?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you look at the links to Benjamin Sesko. And if you believe everything you read, again, it's a difficult thing. But apparently he wasn't promised first-team football and didn't want to be in competition with Kai Havertz, which is interesting because Kai Havertz, as much as I think he's a good multifunctional number 9 for what we sometimes need. He's not an out-and-out number 9, and we know that.
Sometimes, yeah, absolutely, I agree.
But this is the thing. Let's not
He's had good periods.
In the run-in, he was brilliant.
Yeah.
But the people forget in the run-in, this was the guy that got 15 goals and assists in 14 games in the run-in. But he was areas to roam. He had Saka and Martinelli. There was goals coming from the other way. And there was interesting games that Arteta never took him off because he was so influential in the way we played. I'm not always saying he was going to score the goals. Like Trossard was more of a clutch guy in the moment, but his presence on the pitch and the way he was playing, he was brilliant.
But this is why Arteta has to deal with this level of scrutiny, because he has this level of backing towards this player who, in the key moments when you need that absolute bags, man, you need that, you need to get over the line. He's falling short. He's missing a lot of chances.
And I completely agree with that.
Fall at Arteta.
I completely agree with that.
And he chose not to get a strike. He chose in this window, in the summer, like you said, with the bad planning, Luke, to come back in a season where City have just caught you twice and you've had 2 good seasons challenging. To bridge the gap, he's come back with Mikel Merino, Raheem Sterling, who I've got a lot of respect for, but isn't the same player anymore, and Ricardo Calafiori.
And I think that's
how is that going to catch City?
It's not. And I think it's. Do you know what? It's not actually the players we've brought that is the issue. It's actually when you look back at it, and for the club upstairs to look at the season and go, if Bukayo Saka gets injured, who can we replace him with?
Exactly.
If Martin Odegaard gets injured, who is the likely replacement? And the fact that me and all my friends that I talked to spoke on deadline day and went, does that mean Zinchenko's going to play midfield in case that happens? Does that mean Leandro Trossard's going to get midfield? It looks like they didn't actually prepare for that outcome, which, forget if you're going for a Premier League title, forget if you're trying to qualify for the top 4. If you're in a big football club and you don't have a real recognised right winger for your backup for Bukayo Saka, or an actual number 8/10, whatever you want to call Martin Odegaard, in terms of an actual adequate replacement, and you're going to rely on a 17-year-old to come in if you want to try and win for the league for the first time in 21 years, that doesn't warm to me. And then you obviously fast forward down and you see the fact that Edu is left. So you paint this picture that, okay, the summer window didn't go to plan accordingly. However, he did get his first 2 choice targets in Calafiori as a defender and Merino as a midfielder. But then you read that there was reservations about those 2 signings. So then you try and paint the picture and go, what's going on? And then you see the news today about Zubimendi, and that asks more questions about, what does that mean for Declan Rice, and do they play together, or what's that? How's that going to look? But it doesn't change the point of view that Arsenal now find themselves in a position where they need to go in. And personally, in my eyes, I think they need 2 attackers. In January, I think they need a loan. Yeah. If they could be clever enough to do a smart loan, maybe like a Vlahovic. And like I said, if that £50 million is there, can we push? And this is the thing, it's a very fine line, because I go to a lot of the games and I hear a lot of the conversations. I hear that Leandro Trossard isn't the best player when he starts a game, but he makes a great impact off the bench. I've heard conversations about Martinelli and he hasn't improved and he's sort of flatlined. You've mentioned about Kai Havertz not being the natural number 9. So if there's question marks about these players, then surely these players need help. It's not about they're not good enough, because they've shown over the last 2.5 seasons that they can compete and they can go to the very top. But you need to add and you need to help them. Surely.
Lastly, right?
Yeah. By the way, you did deserve it on Sunday. I've got no complaints.
I appreciate that.
Don't tell him that.
No.
Credit where credit's due. I did tell him.
Not like you, Dan. Like when we've beaten you, I don't know how we've lost to you. I don't know how you've drawn that.
That's true.
And we had the referee on our side as well.
And I can't exactly, mate. It was 10 against 12 out there.
It was. It really was.
To finish off, Luke.
Go on.
Is your season over?
No, it's not. And
what can you get then?
Well, like I said, I still think we're in the Premier League title race.
You're in the Premier League title race? I
do. I mean, okay, look, let me paint you this picture, right? We've got the same points as we did have at this stage of last season. We've had longer term injuries that have impacted us, and we haven't played the same style of football. We've been a lot more controlled, and we haven't looked as great as we have been on front foot in the eye, but we're still there. You know, this is a team that is 3rd in the Champions League, looks like it's going to qualify for the top 8. For me, it's still not done in the Carabao Cup. I know lots of people are talking like it's done. But hold on, I'm not going to give up now, and tomorrow's a massive game.
Luke.
You're going to just tell me it's all over, aren't you?
That Carabao Cup game's over, mate.
Well, it isn't, because it's second leg.
Oh, dear.
Well, it's not though, is it? Well, you wouldn't say that.
You're not going to beat
Why
Newcastle.
not? Okay, I said this. Right.
You're not.
Can I ask you a question?
You're not going to even stop them scoring.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think Arsenal, do you think we're good enough to win the Prem right now?
No.
If we buy someone in January?
No.
You don't?
No.
Oh, you don't think we're good enough?
No.
Well, that's all right.
I don't think it's not that you're good. I think it's just that Liverpool are
Liverpool
too
too.
good.
Liverpool,
That's fair enough.
I just don't think you can stop Liverpool, and you're certainly not going to go up to Newcastle, in my opinion.
No, that's fair enough.
I just don't think you will. So I think the season's over, and you're not going to win Champions League.
Well, I didn't think we were going to win the Champions League anyway. I never really bought
But
into
to be fair, Luke is believing. He is believing. Listen, we've got to get off the airwaves. We've got to hand over to Hugh Wizencroft for EFL Access. A big thank you to Luke Henry coming in and joining us face to face. I do love
Well
that.
done.
Very, very passionate Arsenal. One of the most sensible ones, actually. There's a few that aren't. Big shout out to Dan Bardell. Is he sensible?
That's pure fabrication.
It is pure fabrication.